We are sponsored by Soho Bistro and Lounge.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New England Street Talk. This is No Chaser. I'm your host, Tori Slaughter, and as y'all can see, I am sitting here alone. For all my people that's watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Anybody that's watching on Facebook right now, before this video ends, make sure you jump over to 603 Live on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get those numbers to match our Facebook numbers. Facebook is awesome and all, but we all know YouTube is the GOAT. So make sure you go over to YouTube and subscribe. Make sure you also, while you're on there, make sure you subscribe to the Lightbox. The Lightbox is where we do our live performances. So 603 Live and the Lightbox. Make sure you subscribe to both of those on YouTube. Shout out to Soho Bistro and Lounge for sponsoring the network. We appreciate you on that one. And for No Chaser specifically, shout out to Vibes. That's right in Nashua. Just so you guys know, they're not just doing the restaurant vibes anymore. As of this weekend, they will be partying. They are transforming the restaurant into a nightclub. So that's something that's super dope for Nashua. As we all know, what's in Nashua. Like, I don't think there's anything else in Nashua right now. And then shout out to Gateway Lounge in Lawrence. Yes, 603 Live is spread all the way out to Lawrence. Shout out to them. Super dope bar. Local vibes, great patio. I could definitely see that being a spot to go out and chill. I already told her to get a couple fire pits so we can take advantage of the outdoor patio a little bit longer, and it was great. As we all know, Massachusetts is 420 friendly, so I can see a lot of dope events collab between the two of us going on for the future. Who am I forgetting? Of course, 603 Live. Okay, shout out to Sammy Smooth. Sammy Smooth always keeping it going, opening opportunities for everybody. If you're thinking to yourself like, man, I could do that podcast, or like, I just need a little bit more information on how to start my own podcast, 603 Live is definitely the place for you. We definitely open up our equipment, our room, at a low price, super low compared to how much it will cost you to even come close to half of this equipment right here. So definitely message either myself, Sammy, or any of the other podcasters on the network that you feel comfortable with. They will definitely give you the information on how you can start your own podcast. All right, let's jump into the nitty gritty. Creating a monster is what I labeled this podcast episode as. Creating a monster. I say that because, let me just specifically target what I mean when I say that. Creating a monster is what men have been forced to become, and then that is in lieu of understanding that we had choices that we had to make respectfully, that there are forks in the road that men come across. But let's just talk about how, like, the way society, the way the economy, the way the pressure of the world itself has like shaped men to become monsters, and like, I don't think that is talked about enough. You know what I mean? We talk about, we're getting to that point to we're talking about mental health and men being able to be more outspoken or like how they feel without being, uh, degenerated, you know what I mean? Not bullied for it, you know what I mean? Demasculated for talking about how they feel. And like, I think that's one of the things that created a lot of the monsters that we see now. But as we all know, monsters aren't always the bad thing. Monsters aren't just the things that go bump in the night. Monsters aren't the things that just hide in the closet or underneath your bed. Sometimes you need a monster in order to get the job done. You know what I mean? Incredible Hulk is probably one of the best examples when it comes to fan fiction. You know what I mean? The man, the myth, the monster. You needed him, regardless of how terrifying that person may be. Sometimes you need a monster in your life to get some things done. But there's a lot of things in life that, like, we don't like, I won't say we don't respect it. Like, I feel like we respect it quietly, but it's not talked about enough. Like, for example, like a man's first heartbreak, let's talk about, like, not only men not having a place to go to express how they feel on the inside, because that's shunned as a form of weakness. Now imagine bottling it all up, and then, like, first heartbreak, I want to say, is one of the first steps to becoming a monster, because you, as a young man, especially growing up in the 90s, I would say the 90s, 2000 era, you as a young man we still had that era where you glorified family life, or like having your own family, having um, kids, and having a house, and like things of that nature were still alive. Those things were still put on a high pedestal. So like when you before you had that first heartbreak as a man, like you thought that this was the woman that you were gonna be with for the rest of your life. You know, you may not have necessarily knew how to make sure that that was the woman you spent for the rest of your life, but like you knew in your head that like this was gonna be the one. You know what I mean? Mistakes are made, 100% happens. And bad decisions are made in our younger years, and like the penalty for it, I feel like hits men a lot harder than women, because for a woman who thinks emotionally and a man who thinks logically, that first heartbreak affects our mental state differently, because you can repair an emotional break, right? There's some steps that you can take to like mend that, you know what I mean? But like a logical tear in your mental mindset, on the other hand, that's not something that you can fix, because now I've changed my entire dialect on how I see life when it comes to like women because of that first heartbreak. And I don't think women take that into account. I don't think they think like go like it's the most famous saying ever. Like, yo, who hurt you? You know what I mean? Like, who did this to you? Who's the person that came up to you and was just like literally fucked you up to make you think the way that you think right now? And I think it's because a lot of people don't understand that like when your logic is altered, that changes so many different aspects of your life as a man too. Um, the biggest thing that I speak on is when it regards to women, that also affects men, and I think I don't speak enough on the men's side of it, and I plan on doing it on this podcast, is the availability of other people now in the world that we live in. So, once upon a time, a man would see a woman. I'm going to do what I need to do to court and achieve this woman because this is the woman of my dreams, right? When me and this woman decide to be together, we're locked. My mistakes are her mistakes are, you know what I mean? My mistakes, like that's it. Like we're locked. Like there isn't another option, right? Especially for the women. Women were like once they were courted into like marriage, for them there was no other option because there was no way to go out and achieve another option because for her, her mindset was I need to do what I need to do at home, and like she enjoyed that route. Women looked up to that role, you know. So to finally be in that role, in her mind, she won. You know what I mean? There was no need to look further. There was no means either to look outside of that town and city that you lived in. Now let's fast forward to where we are now, where it's like with the click of a button, I have access to 100 different men or 100 different women. You take that logic that I just explained that just got altered now, that like now I see the heartbreak that I went through happen repeatedly through of the eyes of other men through the screen that I'm watching right now to other people, and then now you think to yourself like my logic that is flawed now because of something that I personally went through, but because I see it repeated throughout so many different windows through like for example the cell phone, computer, or whatever. Now my logic doesn't seem flawed anymore. It seems legitimate based off of math and science. So now, as a man, I'm evolving now into this person that doesn't believe in the old school logic of having one woman and then having one family or anything like that, because I'm looking at the multiple failures that has gone on throughout the entire universe right now that I can see like within the palm of my hand. Um, and I don't think women take that into account. I don't think other men take that into account towards when they look at other men either. So I think when we see men who've just emasculated themselves beyond like beyond human like I would say almost like godlike, you know what I mean, demigod like, you know what I mean, and some people will look at them and be like, yo, why is he like that? And like there are things that like impacted him, and heartbreak was just one of them. We can go on and go into other things, abuse, you know, what a lot of people think and consider discipline once upon a time is now considered abuse now. And like if you take the scale of what's considered abuse in 2024 and you apply that to 1995, everyone would be locked up. Like there would be no parents. It'll look like Jimmy Neutron, like all the way across the city, especially the one I grew up in, goddamn it. Like there would be no parents. They'd all be locked the fuck up. You know what I mean? So then now you gotta account into abuse, you know? And now that you've added heartbreak, now that you've added abuse, now let's add bullying, you know? Bullying is something that I think people generalize to like, I made fun of you because one of your feet is bigger than the other, or like this guy isn't as attractive as this guy. But in reality, bullying goes so much deeper than just like friends picking on each other. You know what I mean? You have families, for instance, like I used to hear growing up one time that I would never be shit, like, you know what I mean, you're gonna be just like your brother, you ain't gonna be shit just like your brother, you know what I mean, like terms and things of that nature. And so if we're talking about destroying the male psyche, like having that repeatedly drilled into your head that like, oh, you're not gonna be anything but like a thug, for example, for us black men when we go to school, you know what I mean. Oh, well, like I know teachers used to always say all the time, like, oh, well, we know what you going to do, look, most likely to go to jail. You know what I mean? That used to be a thing in the high school I went to. We had most likely to get locked up. You know what I mean? And so you take all of that and then you pile all of that emotional abuse together and you think about, now you understand, like, well, I'm talking about how we create a monster. So now we got our first heartbreak that changed our logic. We got the bullying that we went throughout our whole entire life. You know what I mean? You got the abuse, whether it be physical or verbal on a daily basis, whether it be at home, whether it be in our friend groups, whether it be at school, whether, you know what I mean? There was somewhere where, and then you think about like how we're taught as men to shelve that. You know what I mean? It will suck it up. You know what I mean? Yo, Brad, what up? I see you there, man. I appreciate you for tuning in. We were told to suck that up, suck that in. You have to keep that. You have to carry that weight. And like, you're carrying that weight because you're a man. You know what I mean? Like, there'll be people who watch this podcast right now and be like, yo, what is this dude crying about? You know what I mean? And then I can relate to it because, like, I would watch a video like this, and my first thoughts, the mindset be like, oh, why is this dude crying? Like, what is he talking about? But then, like, as an adult now, I'm thinking in my head, it was like, no, but these are things that need to be expressed because there are men right now who are going through that process right now and don't know how to vet or handle that emotion. There are men who don't know that they don't necessarily need to allow those type of things to change their logic and change their mindset because, like, men have always been adaptive creatures. You know what I mean? Our goal is to adapt and overcome. Like, we want to evolve to be the best at everything. Like, the one-up nature exists all around the world. Like, men historically love to one-up each other, you know? And then you think about things that, like, are considered weak or things that are considered feminine that we've allowed to let us shelve that when in reality, like, we've created these monsters who just like mindless, selfless, you know what I mean? Unemotional, detached, you know, and I don't know. I guess I wanted to have this episode because maybe like there's a woman out there right now that's like dealing with a man that has some of these issues and like maybe change your perspective. You know what I mean? Because like I've seen dating in like the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Outside looking in, especially. I don't know. I'm nosy, I guess. I don't know. I just sit back and watch, and I think one of the things that we don't do equally is we don't dive into the past of our partners enough. You know, like we've completely, almost utterly, completely erased meeting parents. You know what I mean? like meeting your parents used to be a milestone in a relationship. You know what I mean? And then like it was important because your family taught your partner what type of environment you grew up in, and then like this is most likely to be the environment that I would have if we were together. You know, and that's things like that just don't exist anymore. You know, and I get wrapped up a lot of the times playing the blame game because I'm not gonna lie, I'm the first one to point fingers. And I point whenever I point fingers in a matter of control. You know, like who has control over certain things. Like I would say, men are one of the most immature creatures on this planet. I will, I will agree on that. And then, but ultimately, when it comes down to control over the male psyche, it's always been in the hands of a woman. Like history itself proves it. There are multiple events across history, fact or fiction. And one thing that we're taught is that women control the psyche of men. You know what I mean? It's the most desirable thing to a man. Well, what used to be the most desirable thing to a man is a woman, and that like kind of evolved into now the most desirable thing to a man is peace, which is wild because like for us to be primitive, you know what I mean, ferocious creatures that's on this planet, for the one thing to be sought after now is peace is wild to me. Like to think like, and like women don't give you that anymore. But then there's a double edged sword, right? So like for my ladies out there that do give men peace, right? How do you qualify what man deserves the peace that you give him, right? Double edged sword. It's terrible. It's definitely a lose lose situation. It's one of those things where I think that what we giving up on is time. I don't think we spend enough time with our partners before developing a deeper connection. You know, um, I think that there should be more time in between developing like for I hate saying the dating stage because I'm 35 and I'm like I'm at the age where I'm just like this is gonna be it or it ain't like so. But there are things that you need to learn about your partner that I feel like a lot of people are just skipping over, and that's a bad hit right there. Like I don't understand the world when it comes to that at all. Um, which again, that goes into another thing that creates a monster because now we have men who are creating all of these relationships repeatedly, in every failed relationship. Like if you've ever heard the saying, good good reviews, you know what I mean? 1 out of 10 people go and give you a good review, right? But 7 out of 10 people will definitely give you a bad review if they had a bad experience. You know? So now if you apply that logic to relationships, a man will take more bad reviews out of a relationship than it would a good one. You know what I mean? So like this baggage that men tend to carry because they don't speak on it, the baggage that he had from his last relationship that still carried over from the relationship before that, that carried over from the relationship before that, that carried from the trauma he had before that, it's all just stacked on top of each other like Tetris blocks. You know what I mean? And like it's up to a woman to decide whether that's the type of baggage that she would want to carry. But then how do you decide that you want to take that baggage if a man not willing to speak on it? So I think that's something that we need to tackle to create an antidote, I should say, for these monsters that we created in the '90s and the early 2000s. I think I think men have become extremely gentle, which and women have become extremely masculine, and I think that's due to women feeling like they have to step up and take a mantle due to the single mother boom. There was a massive single mother boom in our era. Where like I know maybe here where I live now in New Hampshire, it may not be the case, but like back where I lived in the Midwest, um, becoming a single mother was a job. Like that was a hustle. That wasn't something that women did because I see him, I like him, I want to be with him. She's like, oh, cool, he's doing good for himself. He got a little bit of money. I'm gonna get pregnant by him, and then I'm gonna hit him for a child support check. Like the same as if it was like an NBA player. You know what I mean? You see an NBA player and he got money, you gonna get pregnant by him. Boom. So you gonna get them alimony checks for him. After 4 or 5 years. In the hood, it's the same concept because they know, like, hey, listen, 2 kids is gonna pay all my bills, all my medical bills. It's gonna pay my rent. I'm gonna still stay with my mama. I'm gonna collect that check, and then I'm gonna stack up on that, and I'm gonna put my bread together on that, and then I'm gonna build myself, and then I'm gonna become a great woman. And then I only had 1 to 2 kids, and then now I'm gonna go out and go find a nice man that I really like or whatever. And like my 2 kids is my baggage, but like look at the life that I built for myself, carrying that wave that child support just rode me on. You know what I mean? So in the Midwest, that was a big boom of that, where it was just like women to tell you right off the rip, like she 2 days pregnant and she already talking about how she finna put you on child support, and it's just like, damn. You know what I mean? Like I just busted a nut yesterday. Why are we talking about child support already? Like we still got Plan B time, and she's already letting you know the child support check is coming in the mail. Goddamn, I've got child support checks in the mail from chicks I didn't even know I slept with. That was crazy. I'd be like, hey, I don't even remember your name, shorty. But like that's a hustle, you know what I mean? So that big single mother boom did one and two things, For the women who didn't see it as a hustle, a lot of women seen it as a negative, a massive negative. Like, okay, so men now are just getting women pregnant and then leaving them to take care of the kid by themselves, when half of these women were just women that this dude just met at the club the other night. And then, but the negative impact that it chooses on the big broad spectrum is like, okay, so men are just fucking women and just dumping them and just dipping off on them, which isn't necessarily the case. And so, like, now you have these men who have to deal with a stigma that doesn't even belong to them. For the longest, I want to say men were called dogs. Like right off the rip, like, hi, how are you? What's your name? Oh, here come another dog. Right off the rip, I just met you 10 minutes ago, and I'm a dog already. That evolved now into women just say flat out hoe now. Like, oh, that nigga a hoe right off the rip. And I'm just like, I don't even know you. Like, I've known you for 4.5 minutes, and I'm already a hoe. And like, I already got 7 bitches just because I can articulate speech and I can speak to you in a formal sentence. Like it's crazy to think about that I'm supposed to take that energy that you just gave me and still flip it and somehow turn it into a positive that we could build a relationship off of. Like, why did I just start this relationship on a Monopoly board and then I have to roll the dice to get on to go past it? You know what I mean? Like, why I gotta roll the dice to get my piece on the board at least? You know what I mean? Everybody else started at go, but the piece on mine is off the board and I gotta roll and get on it. Like, why did I start the game already in jail? And that don't count as one time around the board. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy when we think about it. To think of how men treat other men, you know what I mean? Like, why do you have to be at a certain stature for men to respect other men? And then now you create a stigma of men trying to emulate something that they're not to gain the respect of men who don't give two shits about them. You know what I mean? And then, like, growing up in the 90s and 2000s, you had to emulate something. You had to be at a certain stature in order to survive, believe it or not. And then again, maybe I could just speak from the area I grew up in. I can't necessarily speak on Manchester, New Hampshire. I didn't grow up in Manchester, New Hampshire, but I knew back in Chicago, Illinois, that if you didn't replicate a certain amount of masculine energy, man, you were picked on. You were bullied. You were destroyed. You were pushed to the side. You don't exist. You're not a real person anymore. You're just You know what I mean? You've now just become everybody else's plaything on it, and on the because you don't emulate just enough masculine energy. You know what I mean? I had an era in my life where like I felt like I was fighting every goddamn day because I refused to be that fucking play toy. I refused to that. You know what I mean? I didn't care about, you know what I mean, what gang this was or what gang this is or who I'm supposed to be friends with, who I'm not supposed to be friends with. You know what I mean? I've always been a Lone Ranger and I'm always gonna be like that to this day. But because it's a danger where I was from, because like you had to be affiliated somehow, some way in order to survive. And then like now you take that mentality that you had, you fast forward yourself 10 years, and it's like, how do you now step into regular normal life into a society after growing up that way? And it's almost like institutionalized but outside on rec time. Like, you know what I mean? So it's wild that like men like people don't sit down and think about the things that men have to go through in order to even be able to call themselves men. You know, it used to be an easy concept. You know what I mean? Warriors. Men were warriors because they went out and they fought the battles, or they went out and they did the hunting. They went out and they did, you know what I mean, the excavation, the traveling. They did the navigation in the world. They sought out, like, they had accolades that they could reach that would put them at a status based off productivity that they brought to the necessary town that they have in it. And now we're in a world now where none of that exists anymore. You know what I mean? Like having a high tier job means absolutely jack shit anymore in the city we live in. You know what I mean? You could be an NBA player and still get crapped on. Like look at LeBron James is probably one of the greatest players in the basketball that we've probably could ever witness in our entire lives as far as physicality. You know what I mean? Athleticism. You know what I mean? For him to be the age that he is right now playing, and like you can look and they trash this man like he's like Ben Simmons. Like, imagine getting treated like Ben Simmons when you play better than Michael Jordan. That's crazy, you know? And that's the world we live in right now. Like, there are no accolades for us to reach and for us to achieve to establish that we are men. So we spend our entire lives fighting ourselves, destroying ourselves in our mind, trying to prove to everyone that's watching, and in reality, no one's watching, that we are men. You know what I mean? And then now you put yourself in a situation where you add a woman to it, and the respect factor between how men are historically treated versus how men are treated now, and then like you have this like niche, like this. I wouldn't even call it. I'd call it an itch. You have this itch in your brain. When it comes to the respect level of women nowadays. You know, I had a conversation at a bar not too long ago, and she made a comment, and it blew my mind. You know what I mean? And she said that she was, you know, lady. She was lady. She's like, I'm a lady, and like it bothered me because I was just like, the definition of lady has changed. Like right off the rip, no disrespect to no woman out there. Do whatever the hell you want to do. It's 2024, but like definitions don't need to change anymore. You're not a lady if you're the after. No lady is out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you something. That doesn't make you any less value as a person whatsoever. But when you use those terms, I'm using this example to show just how different we define not just women in general, but how women define themselves. Like, for you to say that, like, confidently, you know what I mean? And I love it. I love when women are confident about themselves. I always tell women all the time, one of the biggest downfall for women is women don't respect each other. And that's the only reason men are able to do the things that they are able to do right now. Women are worse than black people. Y'all only unite when shit hits the fan. I've been saying that for years. If women all decided today, no pussy. Could you imagine that? If every woman on the planet was like, you know what? No pussy. Right now. No pussy. You got to have at least $50K in your savings account or no pussy. You know how many niggas that get $50K in their savings account? You know how much scamming, robbing, thieving, working, hustling, cracking. Do you know how much every man on the planet it would be the most massive rat race. DraftKings would go nuts right now if every woman on the planet was like, if you can't get no pussy from me unless you got 50K in your savings account, women would literally unite and change the entire world off that one statement. One statement, 50K in your bank account, or nope, I can't do it. That's it. You know what I mean? If women was like, oof, I can't touch you. What do you mean? I can't hold your hand. What do you mean? Well, let me see your 401k. Do you have a 401k? Yo, it'd be crackheads with 401ks. I bullshit you not. A crackhead to find a way to get a 401k if he found out that's what he needed to do to get laid, bro. And it's like, that's how powerful women are. And like, men throughout history have put women in situations to where they divide. It's by design. Like, nothing's by mistake. It's 100% by design. Like, women have been put in situations to combat and battle each other. And then that's how men stay on top. Yeah, I'll say it. It's, call me Steve Harvey or whatever the fucking case you may be. But like, I just think about that and it's just like, men are capable of coming together, sitting in a room as a collective and deciding, you know what? We're going to be better men because we want to be better men. No, that's not the case. That'll never be the case. There has to be a goal in mind. Men can come together and sit at a table like this. A man can come and sit at this table and say, listen, we have a goal in mind. We want to reach, let's say for a podcast, you know what I mean? Everybody sits at the table. We want to reach 100K views by the end of tomorrow. We will come together. We will sit down. We'd figure that out. 100%. There has to be a goal inside for men. And the biggest goal for men to be successful has always been to be able to achieve women. Always. Always. And so like, becoming a man, the definition of becoming a man, now we're going to go back. Like, I want to make sure everybody's, like, this is part of what I'm saying. I want y'all to know I'm still on the same page. Follow me. Now, that goes back to when I say creating a monster, because becoming a man was always defined by your ability to produce a family. That was always the big picture. That is how you defined yourself as a man. It was your family name. You know, if I heard your family name, I knew that you were a man. You were somebody, because that family name rings bells. And like, in order to do that, you needed to capture a good woman. You know what I mean? Or you married into a family with a great name in that scenario, you know? And then now you look at that now and like, ask yourself right now, like, for all my men that are watching right now, for all my men that are listening, iHeart, Spotify, Samsung Podcast, wherever the case may be where you're listening, I appreciate you for tuning in. But ask yourself, what woman can I go out right now and court, marry within 2 years, and people will look at me and go, you know what I mean? Like, what relationship can you put together right now in the area that you in right now that people will look at you and go, that right there is going to be a great family? You know? And like, if that was the mindset, like for both parties, man and woman, like, it would change the dating game completely. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it the whole phase has lasted too long? It could be it. Nothing wrong with a whole phase, and I'll vouch for those. Sometimes you need to express that energy. Whole phase start because of the bottle up of all this unnecessary energy. But then when you think about it, like, if you really, really think about it, like, that's always been the concept of the growth of men throughout time, you know. So I don't know. Women have become, now with women becoming more masculine, women becoming more dominant, women becoming more prominent as far as the financial game goes, one thing that I was looking forward to when that did start, you know what I mean? It started heavily 2010s up into 2020s right now. There are a lot of successful women. There are a lot of paid women. But like, how are now that we've swapped roles and women are becoming the breadwinner, where are the successful families to match? You know what I mean? Why hasn't the curve changed? Like, why did women become more successful? Why did women start to get better jobs? Why did women start to become breadwinners, but the relationships tanked? You know, because when women could, when men, you know what I mean, did the courting and men did the head of household, you had like I said before, family names. You had houses. You had graveyards of just this one family because generational wealth was something that was created. You know what I mean? So now I'm looking and I'm challenging women right now. Just like, hey, so like if you're gonna be the breadwinner, if you're gonna be the big dog, then like what are you going to do with that energy? Like, what are you gonna do with that title? Like, what's the point of having the title of big dog, head wolf of the pack, if you just walking in circles, like around the small pups? Like, what's the point? Like, what are you proving? You know? And so, like, another thing that goes into creating a monster now is now let's talk about those men encountering those women. You know? Because, like, now you're used to courting a woman that was feminine, but like, how is a man supposed to court a woman that has the same amount of masculine energy as him, if not more? You know, like what now? Where does the attraction come from? Like, where does I've never understood. I've never understood how men were supposed to be attracted to women emulating men. You know, I've never understood that concept. Like, I don't think I could ever look at a woman who's not necessarily the same stature as me. I wouldn't say that because I love hustlers. I love hustling. Like, it's hustling for me is like a hobby to what most people are. Like, you might like to play chess, or like somebody might like to play tic tac toe. But for me, hustling is one of my favorite hobbies. Like, I love hustling. Like I enjoy it actually thoroughly. Um, but like, to meet another woman that's on like such a power role, like a powerful figure woman in my head, I was like, I don't find them attractive because it's like I don't ever want to be in a scenario where like I'm not top dog. I can't. And then like, not saying that a woman can't be top dog, you can, just not with me. And then like I started to think about like how many other men have the same thought process. So like, what was the point of a woman becoming big dog to just be by herself? Like, now you're a lone wolf. Like, why would you want to emulate? And then I guess I'm saying it out loud, and I was gonna say, why would you want to emulate men? But it's because men don't talk about how difficult it is to be men in the first place. Like, this shit ain't fun. Like, it's not fun at all. Like, we make it look fun because we only display the fun attributes of being a man, and but like, when it ultimately comes down to it, like, some of the sacrifices we have to make to even use the title of man in the first place is astonishing. You know what I mean? Men are losing jobs to women because companies are forced to fill a quota now. You know, men were already struggling, losing jobs to illegal immigrants or other men who decide to do the same job for half the cost. So then now the competition isn't other men. Now the competition in the workforce has become women, and now you have that itch again, that resentment towards women because that one woman bumped you out of your job. You know what I mean? You don't have anywhere to spill that energy out. You don't have nowhere to expel that, you know? And now you out talking to women, but now you thinking about that woman that took that job from you. You know? There we go. Boom. We just created another monster right there. It's so easy, right? Both ways, right? It is so easy to create somebody with ill intentions in this world. simply because I don't think we have enough outlets, you know, whatsoever. I don't think we have enough outlets for that. And then it's like the things that we consider outlets aren't legal or like aren't available to men. So like now to have that void and that to widen because it used to be filled with just men to have it now filled with men and women. I just feel like that's a lot of pressure. It is. It's a lot of pressure. Like I would hate to be a 18-year-old growing up in 2024. I would hate it. Absolutely hate it. Because like I would I don't know. I just wouldn't feel like how in 2024 like what is available outside of sports in 2024 that makes a man feel powerful? Like what do we have available for that? You know? Like what makes and think about it. Remember what I said, outside of sports, you know what I mean? What do you have that gives a man a sense of power? You know what I mean? That gives that adrenaline, that testosterone boost. Like, what is available outside of sports? You know, and those are some of the things that like I just don't think men are getting credit for at all. Like, because that's a battle inside of you. You know what I mean? That's extra energy. It's it's tough. You know what I mean? I can't even find the words for it because I'm not used to talking about feelings and things on a deeper level because I've always been told to just shut the fuck up, like stop being a bitch, just go get out there and get it done. You know what I mean? So like to sit here and try to think and put it into words, like even after thinking about it for like I want to say 2-3 days now, or something that actually that's on our minds 24/7, outside of this podcast scenario. But like I don't know. I hope that this episode was informational for a lot of people out there. Sorry if it kind of sounded like a ramble because I definitely just went and just yapped for like 45 minutes by myself. That was wild. But yo, that's just some of the things that just sit on your boy brain. Some of the things that just like that just goes untalked about. You know what I mean? I think it was dope that I did this by myself because it was me being able to articulate and blow out all my general natural thoughts, you know, without the banter and the back and forth. I appreciate everybody that tuned in and seeing this live. If you're watching live right now, this episode will be available on YouTube. 603 Live on YouTube. It won't be available on Facebook after the live is over. You'd have to go over to YouTube. So if you like the video, or if you want to share the video with somebody else or somebody you think that should watch this video, make sure you go subscribe to 603 Live. The video will be available there. The audio will also be available iHeartRadio, Spotify, Samsung Podcast, Pandora, all your audio podcast networks that you listen to on your way to work or something that you listen to on your lunch break or things of that nature. Mass majority of our episodes are available there. I want to say it's almost 20 episodes available for audio only. Same with YouTube. Big shout out to Soho Bistro and Lounge for sponsoring today's episode. Shout out to Vibes Restaurant. Remember, this weekend they are starting their nightlife this weekend. It's no longer just a restaurant. Those tables are moving. I've seen some of the things that they were doing. I'm actually pretty excited. I might actually head over there this weekend just to witness it myself. Big shout out to Gateway Lounge in Lawrence. Nice little dive bar, man. I tell people all the time, some people underestimate the nice, cool dive bar feel. Like, that's the place you go where everybody know each other's name. You know what I mean? That's that place. I look forward to spring at the Gateway Lounge because I can see that. I can see them having some dope things going on in the spring. And I've seen some of the flyers they have for some of their winter parties. So, you know, I might do a little dabble. You know, normally I don't go party outside of New Hampshire, but I might change my mind for this venue right here. Shout out to Certified Security Alliance. Appreciate you guys. Oh, and the one thing I did talk about the whole podcast, I'm bugging myself. This Wednesday, we are doing a bar crawl. This Wednesday coming up. So for my peoples out there that don't have anything to do for Thanksgiving, people out there that, you know what I mean, hey, want to come out and just have a good time, it's $15. The link's right here in the description. And you get 5 drinks at each of the 5. You get one drink at each of the 5 stops. So 5 drinks total for $15. It'll be something for us to do, you know, instead of sitting in the house. You know, I know a lot of people in New Hampshire are away from family, or some people out here for school couldn't afford to go back, or like whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? This ain't your weekend. This ain't your week with the kids. The kids got to be at his house. You don't like his family, or, you know, she getting on your nerves today and you just want to get out and go, you know, get some air, or maybe you just don't even like your goddamn family. So fuck them. Come join the Turkey Trot and have some drinks with us. We're going to enjoy ourselves, man. Some of us are going to dress up as penguins and pilgrims and turkeys or whatnot. It's definitely a fun vibe, especially if some of the bars you haven't been to. It's The Goat, Shaskeen, Bad Burger, Barcode, and then Keys Piano and Grill. So all 5 of those stops, $15, get you 5 drinks, amazing time, 5 hours of why on earth did we think this was a great idea. So that should be fun as well. Some games and things are not at each place, so it'll definitely be a fun action pack. So with that being said, yo, this is New England Street Talk, No Chaser. I'm your host, Tori Slaughter, and I am out.